Today we will be painting with watercolors using straws instead of just brushes. Straws create these really weird and unusual blown patterns you could use for hair or for just some additional background detail. Materials today are the same for watercolor, so a brush, a water cup, a paper towel, watercolor paper, and your watercolors. But you additionally will need a straw, and you might decide to use a pencil and an eraser as well. Your first option is to do a pre-planned drawing, where you're going to think ahead of time of what you want to draw and where you're going to put in the blown details using your straw. I've decided to draw a horse, and I'm going to use the watercolor to create a very wild and flowing mane. You want to use a lot of water when you're doing this because the more water, the easier it is to blow the colors around. You'll take your straw, put it pretty close to the watercolor, and then just blow as hard as you can. You want to change the direction of the paper and the direction that you're blowing so that the water goes in different directions and looks even more interesting. After it's had a chance to dry a little bit, you can go back in and then add some more details. I chose to use black and add additional lines. I also made a background, which I didn't tape, but you can see here. And I've added a little bit more visual interest beyond just the blown colors. Your second choice is to start by blowing the watercolors first, and then deciding what you see in the patterns and how you want to go from there. Remember to add a lot of water, and then get your straw and start blowing in different directions. I chose to use a couple of different shades of purple. After it's dried, I decided it looked like plants, so I painted little flowers or berries on it using a very small brush. If you do it while it's too wet, it'll bleed a lot, so make sure that it's had a few minutes to dry. Then I started adding some detail of grass and overlapping. I really didn't do a lot of pre-planning. I just kind of thought about it as I was drawing and let it go from there. For the background, I decided to do a wash. You might remember that from our birch tree paintings. Can you see me using any other watercolor techniques we've used before? Here's the finished product of my not pre-planned, just free-form watercolor blown straw painting. When you're done, you're going to want to put it on the drying rack next to the clip that has your class's number so it can really dry.